Hey there. Have you ever tried to describe someone and you just can't find the right words? We've all been there. Well, in this explainer, we're going to fix that for good. We're diving into all the words you need to talk about how people look and what they're like on the inside. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's start with this picture. Just take a look. What do you see? I mean, there's that bright yellow background, her amazing smile, her incredible hair, but how do we actually put all of that into words?
So that's the big question, right? How would you describe her? Stick with me because by the time we're done here, you're going to have a whole new toolkit to answer that question, no problem. So where do we start? Well, logically, the first thing we ever notice about a person is what they look like. So let's kick things off with physical appearance and start building up some really useful vocabulary.
You know, the easiest way to get a handle on this is to break it down. Instead of just a random jumble of words, think in categories like height, weight, hair, and age. It makes it so much easier to remember the right word when you need it. And notice, for hair, you can describe both its style and its color. Let's zoom in on a couple of these words. Take plump, for example. This is a great word to have in your back pocket because it's descriptive, but it's also really polite. It gives you this image of a soft, rounded shape, and it's often a much kinder way to say things. And here's another great one, well-built. Now, this one isn't just about weight, it's about body type. When you say someone is well-built, you're usually picturing someone with a strong, solid, maybe even athletic body. But of course, a person is so much more than just what they look like, right? Now, let's get to the really interesting stuff. The words that help us talk about who someone is on the inside. You know, their personality. And just like we did with appearance, it's super helpful to organize these. You can think of them in terms of positive traits, like being honest or generous, and negative ones, like being stubborn or selfish. Thinking this way helps you paint a much more complete and vivid picture of someone. Let's take a closer look at one of my favorite positive traits, generous. What does that really mean? Well, a generous person is someone who just loves to give, whether it's their time, their money, or just a helping hand. They share what they have, and they don't ask for anything in return.
And this right here, this is so important to remember. Nobody is all one thing. People are messy and complex. We all have our good sides and, yeah, our not so good sides. And honestly, that's what makes us human.
Okay, so now we've got all these fantastic new words for appearance and personality. But how do we actually use them in a sentence? Let's break down these super simple rules for that. And the great news is the grammar here is really straightforward. For personality, they use the verb is. So, he is honest. Simple. For physical features, you'll use the verb has, like in she has curly hair. See? Just two easy patterns can help you describe pretty much anyone.
Okay, pay close attention here, because this is a huge one. These two questions look almost the same, but they mean completely different things. What does he look like is only about appearance, but what is he like? That's all about personality. Getting this difference is absolutely key. All right, that's enough theory for now. The best way to make all this stuff stick is to actually see it in action. So let's do a little practice and meet a family. We'll see how all these words fit together. Okay, so let's meet Barry. He's going to introduce us to his family. As he's talking, try to pick out the words he uses to describe how they look and what they're like. First up, we have Barry's mom, Jenny. See how he builds a picture for us? He uses is for her general description. She is thin. Then he switches to has for her specific features. She has long, curly black hair. See that pattern we just talked about? Next up is his dad, Tim. And look, it's that same pattern again. He is well-built and tall. That's his overall body type. And there's that word we learned earlier, well-built, being used to describe his strong physique. It works perfectly. And finally, we meet his little sister, Lily. Cute is the perfect word here, isn't it? And the description follows our rules exactly. She is a cute girl, and she has long, wavy brown hair. You can really start to see how these simple phrases create such a clear picture. Whew. Okay, that was a ton of new info, right? Let's just pause for a second and do a quick review of the most important things to remember so it all sinks in. So if you remember anything, remember this. What does she look like is for appearance. What does she like is for personality. If you can keep those two questions straight and use the right adjectives for each, you'll be able to describe anyone with confidence. All right, you've seen the words, you've seen the grammar. Think you've got it? Let's find out. It's time for a quick pop quiz to see what you've learned. You ready?
Question number 1. How do we describe physical appearance? Go ahead, think back to those categories we talked about at the beginning. That's it. You got it. We use words for things like height, weight, hair, and age. If you remembered those main groups, you're doing great. Okay, question 2. This should be an easy one. Name just one personality trait. Any word that describes what someone's like on the inside.
Yes, exactly. Words like honest, generous, shy, helpful. Any of those are perfect answers. There are so many to choose from. Awesome.
And for our last question, let's connect a couple of ideas. Which adjective describes someone who is the total opposite of selfish? Someone who really loves to give and to share? Generous! Of course! You nailed it. Fantastic job today. You now have the essential tools to describe anyone's appearance and personality in English. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.